Hi, my name is William Honolulu Jr., and I am the General Manager of BlackUSA.news. BlackUSA.news is committed to making sure that our community gets information about candidates directly from the candidates. As part of our continuing coverage of Maryland's 2022 election season, we will be replaying shows featuring candidates for office. To find out which shows will be airing when, please don't hesitate to visit www.BlackUSA.news. Please also make sure that you like and subscribe to make sure that you get updates from BlackUSA News. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. Wherever you're joining from, at home, on the couch, at work, just thanks for joining. We have a very special guest today, coming all the way from Baltimore County, a dynamic woman. There are many people running, but of course, I wanted to give this young sister an opportunity to describe her platform, to talk about her message, because the thought is important for the voters to know, who's going to be on the ballot. So with that being said, Jennifer White, if you want to introduce yourself, give them your little elevator pitch, tell them who you are.
Yes, of course, and thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you and just simply have a conversation. So again, my name is Jennifer White. I am a candidate for state delegate in District 10, and if anything, have had the pleasure to be in Owings Mills Newtown community for 7 years now or more. And it's really been great to serve on my local homeowners association, getting involved in many community organizations as well. I'm ready to continue my service in District 10 and focus on issues that range from health, public safety, and education, just to name a few. I'm a public health professional by training, and I've been in public health and nonprofit service for more than 10 years, and currently serve as a senior policy and community engagement officer at the Horizon Foundation in Howard County. And so I'm not new to the work, not new to the space, and have the pleasure to be a part of the District 10 Unity team with Speaker Adrian Jones, Delegate Ben Brooks, and N. Scott Phillips. And so together, I know we will make significant change for our community and get the results that our district deserves. So again, glad to be here and connect with you today, Martin.
Well, hey, I appreciate it. Of course, thank you very much for, being on. And, one of the things that I wanted to ask you was, it's not a typical question you probably hear, or it may not be, but what is your why?
Yeah.
As far as running, everyone has a why. What is your why?
So really, it comes down to service. I witnessed my grandparents and my parents really serving our community and really giving all that they had to make someone else's life better. I would oftentimes be with them in tow. And I was also grew up in the church. So my grandfather was a minister. So I was constantly working in the vineyard with them, whether if it was picking up church members to go to church, providing that hot meal. My parents are also retired public school educators. So my mother was an accompanist. So oftentimes for concerts, we either had to provide the uniforms for the students. And I went to music camp and had to help students who followed behind me to give them the uniforms as well. So we were always in service to our community. And from that example, it really ignited my passion to serve and make change. And so that's why I'm running. And that's why I've always been interested in really giving back and really serving and working with and for a community to get the things that we need.
Okay. Hey, I could applaud that. I appreciate that answer. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, just looking into your race, I only knew of a few people personally, right? But then when I actually looked it up on paper, your race looks almost as crazy as District 23, over here in Prince George's. You have 12 candidates.
Whew.
You have 12 candidates, including not including one who withdrew, right? And two of
Right.
those being Republican candidates. So,
Right.
null and void to an extent, right? So,
It's a
so
crowded field. We know.
yes, you have 10, I mean, no, I was shocked by this. For
Yeah.
someone who follows the different races, I maybe thought there was five. But to hear that there was 10 candidates, so basically, where did this come from? Is there opening of seats, or are people retiring? What exactly is happening this cycle to make so many people run in District 10?
Well, I'll just say this as someone who did emerge back in 2018. I think it's exciting. I always, applaud anyone who chooses to put their name in the race. It really takes a lot of courage. And by all means, I'm certainly being tested, and this is quite a learning experience, I will say. But as it relates to the district and the current, what the lay of the land looks like, we know that our dear Senator Dolores Kelly will not be seeking re-election. She's been a dear friend, soror, and mentor of mine, who recruited me to run. And again, she will be moving on and not seeking re-election. And so Delegate Ben Brooks is eyeing the Senate seat. And so he's running for Senate, as well as Delegate Jay Jalisi, who's also running for Senate. And I believe he filed on the last day.
I won't give you my opinion there. I won't give you my opinion, but you saw from my head shake. You saw from my head
right.
shake. So.
I hear you. I hear you and see you. But again, and we have Speaker Adrian Jones. And so again, there's two seats open for delegate and one seat open for Senate. And so we see that the field is crowded, vying for those seats. And so it's real exciting. I will say at one point in time there was 5, and now it is doubled.
Yes, and I think there's two things to hit on there, right? One is I do applaud everyone for running and hopping in the race. It takes a certain amount of courage to hop in the race. But with that being said, just because we applaud you for being out there doesn't mean like you deserve to be out there, because there's some people you're like, wait, why are you running for this position?
Yeah, right.
You don't even know how many delegates are in the house. Right. You don't even know how to pass it. So these small things, right? Like, yeah. I will agree that like some people talk a big game, but like knowing how policy works, knowing how to legislate, knowing how to coalition build, will really help you when you get to Annapolis or wherever you get in your legislative career.
That's right. That's right. And it's important, one of the things that I value, and when I'm on the doors, I tell people it's about voting for an agenda, right? And making sure that you are supporting candidates that not only understand the process, that can work and build in coalition, but have the experience to get the job done. And so, I think that you are exactly right. That it requires courage as well as a level of understanding and a foundation that really makes you a prime candidate to step in and serve in this role.
Okay. Hey, I mean, I will say that you are talking the game, right? So you have been around in the space, but I will always be real with you. And one of the questions I asked you before, and I still want to see your answer, because of course, you can't sell me smoke and mirrors. You gotta give me the real.
That's right.
I know Adrian Jones. I believe she's fair, but I also know that she's a part of the Democratic establishment. Mm-hmm. With that being said, you being on a ticket with Adrian, how are you going to differentiate yourself and kind of be your own person, if and when you get to Annapolis?
Absolutely. I mean, for me, it has always been about the people and serving the district, right? I am a Democrat. And so I also understand the importance when it comes to certain issues to stand firm and in solidarity with each other. But I also believe in making sure that we are making the decisions that best represents and reflects our community and gives our district what it is that they need. And so I know that I'm willing to provide those perspectives and to share those insights and to make sure that we are creating the space for our community to be a part of that decision-making process. And so I'm willing to challenge. I'm willing to provide that additional perspective, to provide that new and fresh, those fresh ideas, to make sure that we have that we can work as a team. And so I believe that our team collectively, while we may have different levels of experience, I do believe that we will be able to truly represent the voice and the values of our district. And in those cases where we need to go a little further, I know that I'm the type of person that will be that advocate. I mean, I do organizing in the field already.
Right here, right now, you're telling me if it's best for the people, you're willing to buck the speaker. You know, I mean, and you're not worried about your leadership position or being written off the slate next time.
I wouldn't say buck the speaker in that regard.
Well, you understand. Bucking the speaker would mean standing up for the people. You know, no matter what leadership says, right? So it would be something similar to like what Gabriel Silvera would do, right? So he doesn't care the ramifications that are going to come back on him based on the way he votes. You know, so that's what I'm more so speaking of.
Right. So I mean, I hear what you're saying, you know, and I think that there is a way in which that we approach, you know, conversations and situations to make sure that, you know, that we're able to be united. Right. And I think that is important. And so, you know, for me, you know, especially as a new member, you know, I want to make sure that I'm able to build those relationships, but that I'm also able to be held accountable to the people, because 4 years later, it's the people that are going to decide, paired with making sure with our leadership that we're able to be in position to ensure that the needs of our district are met. And so I think it's about striking the right balance, not to be in a way where it is one-sided, but making sure that there is the appropriate balance to work in collaboration, to work unified with our leadership, but also making sure that our community's needs are front and center, right? And so, I mean, again, I as I said, I'm ready to stand firm. But I'm also.
I just want to know how firm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Am I gonna have a fighter? Because I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't see the speaker as a fighter. You know what I mean? I see that she has some, you know, liberal progressive values, but I don't necessarily see her as a fighter. And of course she's an institution, right? So she necessarily shouldn't be, you know, a fighter. But that's why, of course, you being where you could be, I want to make sure that you are willing to fight. And, you know, I've heard from certain people who were young in the legislature that they didn't want to vote a certain way because leadership would have looked at them differently, or their colleagues would have looked at them differently, and then they become pawns, right? So then they become pawns, and now they're voting for things. They're not reading bills. You know what I mean? They're just taking people's word for it. And you know just as well as anybody else probably that a lot of people don't read their bills, right? So we sometimes have to hold people accountable for reading their own bills.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you know, and I will say this, you know, I do believe that our speaker is a fighter, because while, you know, there are certain fights that we may see and fights that we don't see. And so I think it's important to make sure that we are, you know, that we are aware that there are sometimes the conversations behind closed doors or in certain sessions that we may not always be privy to. And so I'm appreciative of the direction in which that she has gone in, and that we are now in a process of beginning to implement, you know, the Maryland Police Accountability Act, right? You know, we had a package of reproductive, you know, bills.
That Accountability Act, it's not that it was a little watered down, but we're not.
Well, I mean, and again,
we're not gonna go on that.
I'm just simply saying that, you know, we have much further to go. Absolutely. But I think that there is the fight that is there, and collectively together, we'll be able to take it even further. And so I just simply believe that it's about striking the right balance, but also still making sure that we are firm in making sure that we're serving the people. And so, to your point about reading the bills, I know I spend a lot of time reading those bills inside and out. So, but I hear you. I think that there's it's important. And I've even asked some of my fellow Emerge sisters who are currently in elected office, how do you balance that, right? And at the end of the day, I think it is making what I have, witnessed and heard from our conversations, that it is about that balance. But at the end of the day, it's about making sure that you are serving your districts, and it's about your values, right? I know for me, it's making sure that I stick to my guns. As I said, I grew up in, the church. Faith is very important to me. I know right from wrong. And I want to make sure that, at the end of the day, that it's about doing what is best and what is equitable for your community.
I amen to that. Amen to that. And I'm someone who's worked in the legislature, so of course I just ask you these questions for you to keep in mind, because I want to make sure that whoever goes there, whoever is new, right, they do work with the coalition, but they have their own independence. That's right. And I think that's important for anybody, even especially someone coming in new. You know what I mean? So
because you are exactly right. These things will come up, and the question is, what will you do when you are at that time when you're being pressed with these decisions and choices? What will you do, and how will you stand? And so, for me, I'm going to stand in truth and stand in that, and that is what will guide us forward.
Hi, my name is William Honolulu Jr., and I'm the host of the Black USA News Morning Show and the president of the Grinding Gang Incorporated. The Grinding Gang is an organization that helps small business owners in the nonprofit and for-profit communities figure out how to make sense of all the noise. There's a lot of information out there, and sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. We help you develop business plans. We help you figure out what to do with a lot of the information you receive, and we also help you figure out how to become more profitable. We also host a variety of workshops. You can check out our next workshop on grant writing right here.
So what is something your district needs? Like, what is something that you would work on legislatively for your district?
Yeah. So, and again, I'm hearing a lot on the doors. There are so many different issues, and it's, it ranges from, from trash and recycling, from, I meet a lot of, pro-choice voters too. Public safety is one that comes up a lot. And we've had a lot of conversations in our community related to public safety. And so another issue that I think is really critical especially within our education, but also in our community at large, relates to mental and behavioral health. While the pandemic was raging, mental health was raging in the background long before the pandemic. And so, for me, there's a lot of great things that are already happening. We have a Greater Baltimore Regional Integrated Crisis System with more than $45 million being invested in our region to really expand our crisis response. We also know that the 988 National Suicide Prevention and Behavioral Health Hotline will go live nationally in July, and we were able to secure more than $10.5 million to support those call centers in that effort. But we got a lot more things to do. Mental health is one of the top issues when it comes to our health and well-being in Baltimore County that I think we have to do more of, and make sure that we have greater investment, especially when it comes to crisis stabilization centers, and making sure that our kids, thinking about our kids, our educators, have what it is that they need, given all that they endured during this pandemic and being virtually in virtual classrooms. And so, that's one of the things that I often see not only in the data, but also here when it comes to, community spaces and the like. So it's been a growing concern.
And there's a lot of great things you highlighted. One was the mobile crisis units and the different responses for the mental health patients. One of the things that I would advocate for is, have you ever been to Shepherd Pratt?
I've never been, but they are a partner of ours within our within the work that I do in Howard County. So I'm familiar with Shepherd Pratt.
Shepherd Pratt is probably highly regarded, right?
Mm-hmm.
Highly regarded. I would tell you firsthand that Shepherd Pratt, I just felt like they were just taking state money in some regards and not really helping people.
Mm.
And the reason I say this is because I've known individuals who went there. They weren't going to therapy sessions. They weren't having the therapies. They didn't have any recreation, anything in the game room. The thought is like they literally were just roaming in and out of their room, medicated, non-medicated, until they left, until the doctor deemed them well enough to leave. And the reason I say that is because from that experience, what I really believe is like it's a revolving door.
Mm.
They make you just well enough to get home, and you get sick again, then you're back in a mental health hospital, or you're back at Shepherd Pratt. So it's like a revolving door. Because like I would really encourage you to visit one of these centers, because at the state level, that would be one of the things that I do, is investigate these different mental institutions. Because for one, you got to understand that like the people who are in there, sometimes they don't have the means to actually speak up and talk about what's going on with themselves, or the abuse that's taking place, or the treatment that they're not receiving.
Right.
Because the thought is like just a lot of paperwork. Oh, this doctor signed off on this. He said this happened. But I think that there needs to be more oversight on that. And if you ever heard it here, I say check out Shepherd Pratt. And look into it, because I don't think that that's just Shepherd Pratt. I'm sure that's other institutions, not just in Maryland, but in other places, that are receiving money and kickbacks and not really providing the best treatment, but are getting acknowledged and recognized.
Yeah, so. And the one thing I will say is that from a institutions and systems perspective, right? Like we recognize that there has to be, more done when it comes to training and care of our providers, making sure that, when it comes to treatment, when it comes to the type of care that is provided, that, we're making sure that everyone is treated in an equitable way and that their needs are met, and so when it comes to, addressing cultural bias and making sure that we have providers that reflect the communities that we serve, building a greater pipeline of providers who are able to better care and provide, culturally appropriate and sensitive, care to our population, and also recognize that even when it comes to mental and behavioral health, there may be other needs that need to be addressed. And so what are the other type of wraparound support services, whether if it's housing and not having stable housing, or whether if it's related to food or other issues that may be in the mix that need to be addressed. And so, I think it's about seeing that person within a larger context and making sure that we have providers that are, trained in a way, and we are creating and maintaining institutions that are able to provide that level of care, and hold them accountable, because I think that when it comes to our entire
that hold the accountable part is that we're serious. It's that hold the accountable part.
Yeah.
Because as you said, you can do the trainings, this, that, and the third, but if they're not providing that care, we need to pull that funding. Because we know that a lot of them, they're getting paid per bed, the same way prisons do. They're getting paid per inmate. So, yeah.
So I think we have to take a look at that, because honestly, when it comes to inequities, it's not just the policies and the practices that continue to perpetuate those things. It's institutions that continue to keep these things going. And so in order to address these things across the board, and I'm not picking on any particular provider or
Oh,
institution. I think it's just
I
across
was
the
just calling
board.
that one out personally,
Yeah, no,
but
I hear
there's
you.
probably others. There's probably others.
Yeah, but I just think, and when we look at our healthcare system, we know that there are mass inequities there. It and so I think that there is a need to, in order for us to make systemic change, we have to also look at our institutional level policies and practices and the culture therein that is contributing to a lot of these health disparities that we see in our communities.
Understood. Understood. And when you look at this past legislative session, what were your two favorite things to come out of there? As far as, like, what are the two things you were really hoping passed and it passed? Um,
Yes.
what are you looking at?
Yeah, so my first thing, and again, this is tied to some of the work that I do, but I was following and was very excited about the Healthy Babies Equity Act. What
Okay.
brought me into public health was really the injustice when it came to infant mortality and other maternal and child health outcomes. And that's why I went to Hopkins and pursued my master's in reproductive, perinatal, and women's health. I really wanted to better understand the relationship between institutional racism and maternal and child health outcomes. And so the Healthy Babies Act, which was sponsored by Delegate Pena Melnick, who we know is a outstanding champion and now is the chair of HGO, and Senator Clarence Lamb on the House side. And that would expand the Maryland Medical Assistant Program to ensure that pregnant moms are able to receive prenatal care regardless of their immigration status. And so it provides greater access, because we know prenatal care and postpartum care, and it includes postpartum care as well, is critical in making sure that baby has a healthy start and that mom is also cared for. So that was one bill that I was really excited about. And then another bill, again in the line with reproductive health, which is my passion, was the Abortion Care Access Bill. I had the pleasure of testifying on that bill before the Senate Finance Committee. And again, it was able to move forward. I know Delegate Ariana Kelly was sponsor on the House side, and Senator Dolores Kelly was the sponsor on the Senate side. And so I had the pleasure to support that bill in a personal capacity, in order to make sure that we have the necessary qualified providers to provide safe and accessible abortion care in our state. And so those are two of the bills that I really cared about, because it really focused on my areas of interest and my passion for public health.
Hey, I love Pena Melnick.
Yes.
Delegate Pena Melnick. She is my delegate.
Yeah.
The people's
All right.
champ. And if you know anything, she does a lot of bills around reproductive health, around maternal health. She's really just a healthcare champion.
Yes, indeed. So glad that she is now the chair.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. She is the new HCO chair, so that's big time. And those are some great bills. And I will say the bill that I'm most excited about, probably still in line with health, is Senator Augustine's bill, the one that provides dental assistance to people on Medicaid.
That was critical.
I think that's a game changer for someone who knows personally how expensive dental care is. It could be a real game changer for someone to actually now receive dental care when they weren't able to. And from talking to Senator Augustine, we're behind a lot of other states. A lot of other states have already, made the addition to, put it under the umbrella.
Right.
So
now we just need doula services.
Yes. Hey, I mean, what was it? Senator Ellis had a bill this year, so I mean, it's coming, right? It's coming.
Yep. Like I said, we take steps here. We just continue to build, and I believe we'll get there.
and it's going to make a big change for a Black woman. Of course, you know, maternal
Yes.
health being so high, and you know, Black doctors not taking, you know, our women seriously, our brothers and sisters, or our sisters. I'm sorry, our sisters seriously. But yeah. And so before I get you out of here, I wanted to ask you a couple quick questions.
All right.
One, what is your favorite, Pepsi or Coke?
Neither. I don't drink.
Ah, you're a
So,
water drinker. I got you. Hey,
yes.
keeping the skin clear. Hey,
Oh,
we
yes.
we
Mm-mm.
appreciate it. We
Yeah.
appreciate it. And you're doing your liver some good.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right. That's right.
the next question, who's your philosopher? Like favorite philosopher? Who are you looking up to?
Philosopher.
Or
Like,
philosophy that you like to follow. You know.
well, I would say that of Christ, you know, like
Hey,
we,
okay. Hey,
we want to,
that's fair. That
you
that
know,
is fair.
I think that that's an amazing philosophy and an example to model ourselves after,
Absolutely.
you know.
And you know, this is a quick yes or no. Are you going to be voting in favor of legalization of cannabis? You know, when
Yes,
it hits the ballot. Okay, just had to
yes,
make
shoot, we
sure.
gotta listen.
You know that was I had to hit it on a little bit. You know, had to make sure. Well,
Absolutely.
well, I appreciate you. So please tell people how they can get connected with you and stay connected with you. Of course, July 19th. You know, you got a race coming up, so give
Yes.
people your information.
Absolutely. My website is www.votejenniferwhite.com. You can follow me on Facebook at Vote for Jennifer White. And on Twitter and Instagram, it is Vote for Jen, Jen White. So looking
Oh,
forward to connecting with you all. And again, thank you so much for the opportunity and looking for other conversations here. This was a lot of fun.
yes, absolutely. I appreciate you, Jennifer, and you know, good luck down there in D10.
All right. Thanks so much. You take care.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.